Hello there. We start a new week of the Bernie Miklasz Show here on STL Sports Central. We call it the Bernie Show. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave your comments. Thank you very much for supporting my work here at STL Sports Central, Camo X, the Seeing Red podcast with Will Leach, and the Cardinal Territory video podcast with Katie Wu. Today's topic is this. The Cardinals have a very real and serious problem with Nolan Arenado, and I'm not sure how they're going to find a way out of it, but we got a lot to talk about. For now, the Cardinals have put Arenado on the injured list because of a recurring shoulder problem. How long will Nato be on the IL? Was this something he wanted to do? Is it something that the team wanted to do, or both? I don't know. A lot of gray area here. It's hard to predict when he'll be back. Put it this way. I would not be surprised if Arenado returns in a couple of weeks, and I would not be surprised if he'll be shut down for the rest of the season. And I would not be stunned if we never see him play for the Cardinals again. This would not shock me at all if you think about the situation, which I'm going to get into in this video. So stay tight. Hang in here with me. Either way, the Arenado problem ain't going away because his bat has turned into deadwood, and this has been a really brutal season for him. It's his 13th year in the majors, and excluding his numbers in the COVID-shortened season of 2020, he is having the poorest season of his career in batting average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS plus. He's homered only 10 times, his lowest in a full season since his rookie year back in 2013. His RBI total, 43, is a career low. And let's be really straightforward and honest about this. It's gotten very ugly. Before he was transferred to the IL, Arenado had not homered since June the 21st. In 95 plate appearances over his last 25 games, Arenado batted 200 and slugged 244. And I'll put this in perspective for you, what I just told you. Arenado's 487 OPS ranks 221st among 224 big league hitters that had at least 95 plate appearances since June the 22nd. And if we go back to late April, Arenado's batting only 228 with a 340 slugging percentage in his last 69 games. Listen, other people may spin this. I don't know why. All athletes eventually reach this stage. This is hardly anything new, not even for old St. Lou. There is no upside to these atrophied Arenado numbers. There are no silver linings. There's only the harsh reality of a 34-year-old hitter enduring the misery of a severe age-related decline, and that decline came early. It happens in sports. What about Arenado's defense? Because I know a lot of people would somehow believe that spending $42 million on him the next two seasons was he's got that great defense, Bernie. First of all, even if he did, that wouldn't be worth $42 million for a guy who doesn't hit. And while he is above average and still plays well, things have slipped. The metric-based stats, which I know a lot of you people, and you can, I mean this sincerely, you can believe what you want, my friends, but the metrics-based stats, which are a lot more important than fielding percentage, for example, are the most important things to look at, and they show without question a downward trend. Last season, Arenado had 10 outs above average. This season, he's only got 2. His fielding run value at StatCast was in the 96th percentile back in 2022, and that's down to the 70th percentile this year, and it's a drop of about, I don't know where he was last year, but it might have been like the 79th percentile. So the arrow down, 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 down. Arenado's got 4 defensive runs saved this season, down from 6 defensive runs saved last season. In the Fangraphs composite defensive ratings, Arenado was 9.7 runs fielding above average in 2024, and that has dwindled to 3.6 above average in 2025. So there is no escaping this, even defensively, although it's not bad. He has declined to an extent. And I can't talk to, I know that I can never break through to people who refuse to realize that. Some of my friends in the business don't, and that's okay. I go with the numbers rather than, praising a guy for what he's done in the past. He's going to be going to the Hall of Fame. Nolan Arenado was a great, great third baseman, but he's reaching the end of the line. The problem is the end of the line is coming with 2 years guaranteed remaining on his contract in 26 27. But if you add up the decline offensively, you go to wins above replacement, which takes in offense, defense, base running. Only 0.9 wins above replacement this season, which is by far the worst of his career. I mean, it's not even close in a full season. And just, and with only 49 games remaining in the Cardinal season, that WAR figure will not grow much, if at all. I'd be surprised if he played much, even when he does come off the IL. The Cardinals, as we're going to get into this, they got a lot of guys they need to play. Among the 20 major league third basemen who have played the most this season, 20 guys, Arenado's 0.9 WAR ranks 16th out of 20. And that's because of his defense and because the other guys at the rate below him don't play defense and don't hit much either. Anyway, what kind of trade market exists for a 34-year-old third baseman who can hit, has lost some ground defensively, has suffered from back and shoulder ailments, and is owed $42 million guaranteed over his next 2 seasons? Plus, he has that no trade clause, and he used it to veto a trade to Houston last offseason. Plus, he's going to be 35 years old next year and 36 years old in 2026. But I'm sure we'll see another round of, several teams are interested in Arenado. Delusional would be the word there, okay? Anyway, that's my wrap-up of how the Cardinals got to this point with Arenado. I gave you a comprehensive rundown on the state of Arenado's play. And a fading team and a faded third baseman, it is not a healthy combination for a rebuilding team. And whether you like it or not, that's where the Cardinals are going. In fact, it started this year with this runway season. So, and spending only $2 million for one free agent. So where do the Cardinals go from here? I'm going to dig into that in my second segment of Monday's Bernie Show. But first, it's DraftKings time. The Cardinals have 49 games left on the schedule, and the 2025 season is flying by for all major league teams. And that's why I say it is DraftKings time. I think it's a good time for you to try the daily Pick Six fantasy game at DraftKings. You're going to have a chance. If you haven't jumped in yet, this is a good chance. You're like somebody, a hot prospect we're calling up from the minors. This is your chance to learn how to play and learn how to win. And if you're a new customer, DraftKings will give you some bonus dollars to make your picks if you sign up. More on that later. DraftKings Pick Six makes it easy to get started. So put the baseball knowledge to good use. Take your swings. Take those swings at winning some cash. Just download the Pick Six app from DraftKings, and there is nothing complicated about making these daily selections. Each day, DraftKings sets a stat line for dozens of major league hitters or pitchers for their next game. You just pick more or less. You go higher or lower than that stat line when you go to, look out your preferred choices, and you are in the game for a shot of success. Hey, tonight, I like Sonny Gray. He's been listed at 4.5 strikeouts. I like him against the Dodgers to get 5 strikeouts. You know why? Because even when he's not that good, Gray strikes out people. And the other thing about that, I think he'll go deeper into this game. And the other thing about that is, like, since June 1st, or middle of June, since the middle of June, the Dodgers have the 4th worst strikeout rate of any offense in the majors. So anyway, just that's the kind of stuff you should look at. Pick Six available here in Missouri, so there's nothing to hold you back. I really enjoy playing DraftKings Pick Six Fantasy. It's something that I've gotten into, and I like it more and more as I go on. And I think you're going to like it too, but you got to try. So don't settle for smaller payouts at other places. No way. You deserve better, so you should switch to DraftKings Pick Six, and you'll be at the right place and at the right time for winning some money. Right now, new customers can get $25 to use in pick bonuses with their first deposit of only $5. So download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick Six from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Okay, let's resume my second segment here on the Bernie Show, and I have another question for you. Why was and maybe I shouldn't even dwell on this; it's kind of irrelevant now. But I'll just say, I was surprised that Arenado seemed so frustrated or bummed, as to use his term, when the Cardinals traded closer Ryan Helsley, his best friend on the team. I mean, of course you would expect him to be disappointed, but he seemed really frustrated. So I'm a little surprised that he didn't anticipate what obviously was going to happen. At the time of the trade, the Cardinals had the 12th best record of the National League over the previous 2 months and clearly had entered the seller mode. It would have been absolutely irresponsible for this front office to keep 3 relievers on expiring contracts around. Cardinals had no chance to make the playoffs. So if Arenado returns to the field, because he felt let down or ticked off or whatever by these trades, and if he's unhappy being a Cardinal, listen, I don't think it's in anyone's best interest to have a sour Nolan Arenado hanging around, especially if manager Ali Marmol greatly reduces his playing time, which if Arenado comes back, Marmol better reduce his playing time, because sometimes you got to stand up to a veteran and tell him, no, this is the way that it's going to be. Sorry, we got to do this. What a mess this is. If Arenado is still a Cardinal next season, I don't see how the roster numbers work out. Looking ahead to 2026 and not including the first base spot for now, the Cardinals have too many guys that play second base, shortstop, and third base, which would include Arenado, or who can play at least 2 of those positions. So you have, if everybody comes back, everybody's in play. You have Arenado, you got Brendan Donovan, you got Nolan Gorman, you got Mason Wynn, you got JJ Weatherholt, and then you got Thomas Saggese. How do they, if Arenado is here taking 500 at bats or more next season, where do these guys go? How do they get, you're entering a rebuild. You have to give these guys, the younger guys, and I know Donovan's not a younger guy, but the point is he's one of your best players. So he's going to have to play as much as possible. Wynn is one of your best players, and he's excellent defensively, so he's going to play as much as possible. Nolan Gorman, you got to play him as much as possible. And Weatherholt, you don't bring him up, whether it be late this season or to start next season, and keep him on the bench 3 times a week. And then where would Saggese fit if you keep Arenado? That's 6 guys that I just mentioned. There's no way to make that fit in doling out playing time. If the plan is to give a lot of playing time to a lot of guys, it ain't going to happen with Arenado in the mix. Sure, president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, could hold on to Arenado and trade one of the younger dudes to ensure regular playing time for Arenado, but that would be insane. And by the way, I'm not opposed to trading one of the younger dudes. Like, for example, I would prefer the Cardinals keep Gorman, but I'm not opposed to the idea of trading him if you can get a young starting pitcher out of it or something that will benefit you going forward. But to do it to accommodate Arenado, trading Gorman to accommodate Arenado, that's insane, okay? And I know Chaim Bloom is smarter than that. The Cardinals might promote Weatherholt to the majors before the season runs out, so how does that work? And I don't have a prediction whether they will or not. JJ was going to need to play every day as soon as he comes up here. And I hope that they bring him up. I really do. Maybe give the fans something to actually get excited about. And the Cardinals, by the way, as you notice, it's been reported, they've started playing JJ at third base. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. The timing of that seems, it's good timing given that Arenado is on the IL. In a rebuilding situation, the younger guys must play a lot or there's no point in rebuilding. And this rebuilding for the Cardinals is long overdue. You can't have a player like Arenado in the middle of it, taking a lot of plate appearances away from younger hitters who truly need them because they represent your future, and you need to learn more once and for all about a guy like Gorman in particular. And you got to play Weatherholt. And if you want to have Saggese on the team as your utility guy, he's going to have to play a couple times a week. Let's survey the infield quickly as it stands before a Weatherholt promotion. This is before a promotion. Contreras at first base, Donovan at second base, Wynn at shortstop, Gorman at third base. And Arenado would be at third base if he's actually activated. Of course, Gorman can also be used as the DH. Donovan can play in left field and even shortstop or third base on occasion if you need him to. Sajasi can be used at second base, shortstop, and third base. Weatherholt played a lot of third base in college ball at West Virginia. He's got the capability of playing shortstop and second base. As I've told you a couple times this year, he's played shortstop way more often than any position so far in 2025. Now he is adding third base. For the life of me, I don't understand why the Cardinals haven't at least given him some work, maybe even on the side before the game to play center field. And I know a lot of you have said that too. He's fast enough. He's quick enough. He's got great baseball instincts. I think the more positions he can play, the better. Although, yeah, there's a counterpoint to that, which is like, you don't want to like flood him with like too many positional responsibilities. But he can play several positions, and that's a plus. That's something that will keep him in the lineup no matter what. Although he should be there anyway. But you got to, if you have other guys that are important to your offense, you want to play them too, right? And so, I don't know, the idea of locking Weatherholt into one position, that might not be the way this will play out. We'll see. Now, the Gorman haters are going to whine about Gorman playing third base. And look, he was pretty bad at San Diego over the weekend. No, Gorman, no. He isn't in Arenado's class defensively. And I say that even though Arenado isn't what he used to be. But that is not the point. 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 Because this isn't about starting a guy who is better defensively right now. It has nothing to do with it. Gorman needs a lot of reps at third base, his natural position. And since coming to the big leagues in 2022, he has started only 41 games there at third base. The Cardinals have to find out if Gorman can be average at third base. And if he hits for a lot of power, then who cares if he is slightly below average at third base defensively. Through Sunday, by the way, Gorman's slugging percentage, 35 points higher than Arenado's this season, and his OPS, 49 points higher than Arenado, and Gorman's numbers since late May have been pretty good. But of course, his progress was interrupted by that IL stint because of some back problems. And I will say, as a very brief side note, those recurring back issues are a concern, and I wonder whether this is a topic for another day. I wonder whether Chaim Bloom will take that into consideration if he's trying to decide who to trade to alleviate the logjam. Just wondering. But if Arenado returns for 2026 and he's logging a lot of playing time, the positional flexibility is restricted because third base would be out of the equation. There is simply no way to accommodate, as I mentioned, 500 or more at bats for Arenado and also provide sufficient and necessary playing time for dudes who represent the future instead of the past. And how do you think Arenado would like sitting on the bench, being a part-time player, if the Cardinals can't find a new home for him? Wow. I don't even want to think about that, actually. I don't think it would be a pleasant situation. Once again, it is time to accept Arenado for what he is at the stage of his career, and it makes no sense to force the issue by wedging him onto the roster for 2026 or 2027. I will tell a story from my young reporting days. Earl Weaver, one of the great managers who ever lived, and of course, a native of St. Louis, he called Brooks Robinson in his office. Brooks Robinson, one of the greatest defensive third basemen, if not the greatest defensive third baseman ever. He had to call Brooks Robinson in his office one day and said, "Brooks, I just can't play anymore. I just can't do it." Because Earl told me later, when I was talking to him at a Hall of Fame ceremony the night before, a few years before he passed away, I said, "Well, what was that like to bench Brooks Robinson?" He said, "I called him into my office, and I was calling him in my office. I hated myself. I hated my own self, because this is Brooks Robinson. This is like the all-time iconic Oriole. Maybe Cal Ripken is now, but that's not neither here nor there. I mean, Brooks Robinson was to Baltimore in terms of baseball what Stan the Man was to St. Louis. But Earl Weaver instead of looking the other way, he just said, listen, I had to do it because it was best for my club, and that's my responsibility. You got to make tough decisions. So that's why I laugh at this idea of like somehow, the Cardinals would be afraid to tell Arenado, well, you're not going to play. Come on. And that would amount to avoiding the responsibility for doing something that obviously must be done for the betterment of a rebuilding team. And I tell you what, if they just let things stay as they are when Arenado comes back, whenever that is, that would be a pretty awful way for Chaim Bloom to begin his term in office as the new president of baseball operations. The Cardinals cannot fool around here. They have to set and chart a very distinct course. For the first time in a very long time, the Cardinals have to rebuild. And I'm not saying tear it down to the studs. I'm not saying that, but you have to rebuild. And that still means developing young talent and giving it plenty of opportunity. And for the first time in a long time, ownership, management's got to sack up and do what's necessary instead of curling up in the fetal position and sucking their thumbs. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Anyway, Bloom can't do this alone. And at some point, team owner Bill DeWitt Jr. is going to have to sign off on a lot of money that's going to be burned for the Cardinals to clear Arenado from the roster, if that's the only way to do it, and I think it is. When I return, I'll review the possible outcomes of this untenable situation with Arenado and the Cardinals. But first, it's Blue Chew time. Gentlemen, Blue Chew is a big blue dose of power that can help you raise your game for those intimate, exciting times with your partner. You can make those occasions even more exciting with an assist from Blue Chew. As we like to say, chew it and do it. If you're struggling to get around the bases and have a celebration at home plate with your significant other because of a lame game, then turn to Blue Chew for some added power and strength. Fellas, if you need a more powerful bat, Blue Chew is in the equipment room. It's waiting for you to go grab it, and then it's boom time. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for enhanced performance in the most important room in your house, the one that's got the bed in it. How about some fireworks instead of a dud? Blue Chew can help men of all ages, including guys like me in their 60s. So that's why I know it can help you. You will get your first month of Blue Chew free. You're just a few clicks away. You sign up at BlueChew.com. You consult with one of the licensed professionals, medical providers. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers. I just wanted to state that clearly. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription at your doorstep in a few days. It's all done online, simple and private, no hassle. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use the promo code Bernie. That's free because you will pay $5 shipping, and that's it. That's the promo code Bernie to get your first month free, and the only cost to you is that $5 shipping free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the Bernie Show. All right, here we go. Segment number 3. Here are some scenarios. Okay, what could happen? How does this all end? I'm going to give you a few scenarios with comments. Number 1, Arenado retires. Doubtful, I say. Doubtful. Why? Well, he has $42 million coming in, and he ain't going to take a pass on that. He's also a candidate for something that I call the last hurrah syndrome. What is that? It's when an aging athlete really believes he's going to rally and rebound and be just as good or nearly as good as he was at a younger age. I don't have time to go through it. We have seen last hurrah syndrome in professional sports for a very, 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 very long time. And I think maybe Arenado would think he can do that. So he could be a candidate. I said could be a candidate for the last hurrah syndrome. Number 2, the Cardinals can wimp out and stay the course instead of making a tough but obvious decision to part ways with Arenado. And if that's the case, then I have to say it. If that's the case, then the Bloom regime will be off to a poor start, because keeping Arenado, no matter what it is, and no matter how much it may cost you, to basically say, no, we got to end this. Ain't that something that John Mozeliak would do? I hate to say that, but isn't that something that Mo would do? All right, number 3, Arenado takes a look in the mirror and makes an honest assessment of where he is as an all-around player this stage of his career. Offense, dead. Base running, poor. Ability to walk and get on base at a healthy rate, poor. Defense, good, no longer great. If Arenado understands the reality that he is on the steep downside of his career, and yet he still wants to be traded, but he won't lengthen the list of teams he's willing to be dealt to, then he is completely unhinged from reality. Because the chances of him being traded to get to a better situation are already very, very small. At least he'd have a chance, in theory, of getting traded if he gives the Cardinals more freedom to explore trades with more teams that weren't on his original list. If Arenado refuses to expand that list before the trade deadline, I should say, let me go back. He did refuse to expand his list before the trade deadline, which probably tells us he is probably living in denial about how many teams will even entertain the idea of acquiring him. Arenado had his chance to go to a contender, but he blew off the Houston Astros. I have to mention that again, but I mentioned it for a reason. Hasn't he learned anything from that at all after he blew off the Astros? Nobody calling John Mozeliak saying, come on, what's it going to take? We want Arenado. Maybe the Red Sox would have, but Alex Bregman signed with them, which was the inevitable outcome anyway. 4, maybe the Cardinals do find a trade partner agreeable to Arenado's liking, so there's a way out. As long as Bill DeWitt agrees to pay off a huge chunk of Arenado's $42 million, even if DeWitt picks up 50% or maybe 75% of the total cost, he's still going to save money because he won't be responsible for 100% of Arenado's guaranteed pay. That money's spent already because it's guaranteed. Number 5, if Arenado won't cooperate and he holds the no trade clause over the Cardinals' heads to force them to release him, well, away we go. That's no problem at all unless DeWitt wants to wreck his own team's rebuilding effort, because he's going to, at the worst, he's going to have to come up big by being willing to absorb all $42 million just to take care of this large Arenado problem. And I'm going to explain some such stuff to you that tells you why it's really not that big of a deal. Well, especially considering the DeWitt's estimated net worth and also the increasing franchise value. What's $42 million? Come on, what's $42 million? I know it ain't my money. It's easy for me to say, come on. So what would be the point here? If Arenado isn't happy and the Cardinals want to open up third base for a younger player or players, then why would they want to prolong a horrible situation by the owner saying, no, we're not going to pay all that money? 2 things on this. First of all, DeWitt got a big break when he negotiated with Rockies ownership in the trade that brought Arenado here. To make it happen, the Rockies owner, Charlie Monfort, agreed to pay around $50 million or slightly higher than that to defray the cost of Arenado's contract, hefty contract. So they got a $50 million gift from the Rockies to bring Arenado here when he was still in his prime, right? Second, Bill DeWitt Jr. has done this in the past. This is not some kind of foreign, oh, no, we never go there type of thing. That's our policy. We never are going to go there. He's done it in the past, not to the extent of $42 million, but as I wrote in my Friday Redbird review, and it's a reason why you should read it if you don't, I went back through DeWitt's history as an owner to look at sunken cost contracts. I may have missed a couple of minor examples, but here is what I found. I added up the sunken cost of the Cardinals moving on from Mike Leake in a trade, Dexter Fowler in a trade. Then the other guys I'm going to mention, they just flat out released them. Johnny Peralta, Ty Wigington, Brett Cecil, Greg Holland, Jonathan Broxton. And like I said, I think I missed a couple people. But even with this list, that comes to an estimated total, all of those salaries that became, in effect, sunken costs, it came to an estimated total of about $50 million. Here's another thing. If the Cardinals choose to part ways with Arenado and absorb the $42 million committed to him, as my friend and colleague Randy Carricker pointed out, Arenado's replacement at third base won't pull in as any kind of substantial salary or long-term commitment. It's not like the Cardinals, after cutting ties with Arenado, will have to go out and invest significant dollars in a third baseman. They already have guys there now, whether it be Gorman, whether it be Weatherholt. This situation has turned on the Cardinals on a very big way, and how DeWitt chooses to handle this very big problem is yet another tremendous test of his credibility. And by standing in the way of an Arenado solution by refusing to basically absorb all of the cost or most of the cost to get Arenado moved on to another home. DeWitt would give fans another reason to stay away from Busch Stadium because I can hear them now. This guy he's going to rebuild, but he was too cheap to even pay off Arenado to make the rebuild take off. And also DeWitt, if he doesn't come through with the money to make this happen, he would also undermine Chaim Bloom at the very beginning of Chaim Bloom's term in office. You can't do it, Bill. You cannot do this. So what, with all respect, Mr. DeWitt, what will it be? You have another chance to step up here. To the rest of you, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your support. And I want to thank DraftKings for presenting the Bernie Show. Thank you, DraftKings. I think I was in such a rush to go earlier. I may have forgotten to mention DraftKings at the top. I don't know. I was fired up today. Also, a lot of caffeine. All right, that's going to do it for today. I hope you have a good rest of your Monday. And thank you so much for watching the Bernie Show here on STL Sports Central.